Good morning. Well, actually, afternoon now. This is Cassidy, you know that. Um, Today is Saturday, so of course that means I have readings. I'm not going to read today. I'm going to kind of go over a few things here. I'm playing with my hair. But I want to go over a few things. I was contemplating doing blog posts for this afternoon, but I have basically been going since like 6 o'clock this morning. I already went out to Panera, had breakfast, had coffee, did some writing, came back, went out to Lane Bryant. I picked up a Christian Siriano dress. I'll show pictures of that tomorrow. Yes, I have a designer dress now, and it looks great on me. Everybody is complimenting me on how nice it looks. But the big thing is I have a package of clothing coming from diaandcompany.com. But just like I had with the wig last week, when packages come in, if you don't intercept the mail guys when the package comes in, it ends up going in a supply closet, and there's no staff here for the weekend. So I wouldn't be able to pick it up, if I don't get it today. I won't be able to pick that package up until Monday afternoon, and I have 5 days to try on all the clothes and then send back the ones I don't like. Well, if I miss 2 days of that because, I won't be able to pick it up till Monday afternoon, so they will see it as it was delivered Saturday afternoon. So there's Saturday, there's Sunday, there's Monday, and I will have missed 2 days, and then I have to drop all this stuff off in the middle of the week. It's a pain in the butt. So I'm like going back and forth every 30 to 45 minutes to see if I can catch the mail guys. And last week they didn't come until about 6 o'clock. But today could be the day they come at like 3, so this is the one thing I hate about living in an apartment complex. You never know. They don't come and deliver this stuff to your door because there's just too many people here. I wish they would. Some mail guys actually used to do that, but most of these guys won't do that shit. So, but I want to go over the scene I've been working on. Since last night, I've actually written about 800 more words to the scene. It's gotten quite big. I'm actually up to almost 3,400 words, which is pretty good. That's a pretty good take. Last night I wrote 500 words, so 491, and then this morning I wrote 351, with more I'll probably write this afternoon. So, right there, that's, 842 words, so almost 850 words, and I'll probably write more tonight. So, slowly but surely, it's taking me a week to get to like these 3,500 word chapters. And that's what this one is turning into. It's turning into a 3,500. It's probably going to be closer to 4,000 words easily. But one of the things I said I wanted to do was there's something that Annie says in the novel, and she says thank you in Bulgarian. And I said, I've actually been practicing how Annie would say that. So here, I want to give you my impression of Annie saying thank you in Bulgarian. Hold on a second, I have to get my hair right. Blagodaria. See, there you go. There's Annie. Blagodaria. Blagodaria. She's a cutie. She really is. Most of the time before that, she probably was all pissed off, and especially when the guy said who you are, and she was like, you can imagine what she was saying, how she says it in Bulgarian, probably like, she wasn't happy. And, for a 13-year-old girl, she's been raised right. Mama, has told her, don't let people walk all over you. Just, let them know that you're not to be trifled with. And Annie doesn't, she's a forceful little girl. She isn't spoiled. Although Mama has said from time to time, we know from the A-level novel that Annie has been accused of being spoiled at times. Spoiled little rich girl. That's what she is. She's not spoiled, but she is a rich girl. Any 11-year-old girl who comes to school with a Louis Vuitton bag that, costs $1,200. Yeah, she's got money. And she doesn't, that's the funny thing. I have to think about that, is that she probably didn't give it any thought. I mean, she may have went, oh, yeah, I know there won't be a lot of people bringing their Louis Vuitton bags to school, or their Hermes bag or something like that, but I'm going to take mine anyway. That's just because that's just how Annie is, she's just like, it's my bag, it's my handbag, so. Haters can hate. I don't give a shit. Haters can hate. So what I want to go over, I've got the section here of the novel that I want to go over. And when we left off last time, it was sort of like, okay, Deanna wants to do something special for their schooling this year. What is it she wants to do? And there's all sorts of, what is it she's going to do? And the reality is, the Sea Level is going to be the first year. Sea Level is going to be the first year that Deanna actually has Annie and Carrie in class as students. Up to this point, she's been a counselor. Look at my hair. Up to this time, she's been a counselor, more or less. We know this. She counsels them. She gives them advice. She's helped them out. She's told them not to have sex. And she's banned them from researching something that could actually affect their lives. Water. So, Deanna has this attitude of she's kind of looking over the kids, and in a way you could say she's actually kind of protecting them. And she told them, this thing with the 3 bindings, if you do it wrong, you'll screw up. And she knows this. So, and she knows that these 2 are kind of the kids who would, they would probably try this if I don't do something to stop them. So, she banned them. She put out an edict and banned them from doing any sort of research. So, damn. Can we read this book? Oh no, you're not allowed to. You're banned from that book. And it's painful. But anyway, this is the first year she's going to have them in class. It's Introduction to Divination. And what really happens in Introduction to Divination is she's teaching the students everything they need to know about, okay, how do you know if you have sight? How do you develop sight? How does all this stuff come about? And whatnot. I'm just wiping stuff off the screen. So, Introduction to Divination, she's trying to determine which of her students in the Sea Levels actually have sight. Now, let's face it, the majority of students in Sea Level don't have sight. The majority of students in Salem don't have sight. Or if they have it, it's in a very limited form. There are very few people like Deanna who have visions just come to them in a pop. Or they do what they call pronouncements, which are sort of like, I call them futuristic epiphanies, where all of a sudden something will hit you and you're like, oh, this is going to happen and blah, 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 blah. They're probably the closest that people have to the way visions are handled in most fiction. All this mystery and riddle wrapped around a series of words. And people then have to try to puzzle out what exactly was it that was said. So Deanna is pretty much telling Annie, as I've got written here, she knows that both Annie and Carrie already possess a little bit of sight. That they have what she would call dream sight. And they have visions that are brought about by either dreams or going into trances. So right now, she knows when they come into class, she doesn't have to do a lot of research on them. But she doesn't have to try to prod them and try to find out what it is. Now, whether they're going to have active sight, she already states that she doesn't know if they have like active sight like she has, but she knows their dream visions. She's afraid she's going to bore them, which is really kind of what she's, really sort of what she wants to try to avoid, because she knows how these two are. They're both very aggressive when it comes to learning magic. And she's afraid she's going to bore them. And generally speaking, you're going to end up boring most of the students in this class anyhow, because visions are difficult to handle. So what is it that she's planning? Annie even asks, what are you planning? Well, Deanna says it very simply right here. I'm going to give you both special instruction. There's a guy out here with a race car. Thank you, jackass. I'm going to give you both special instruction in the astral disciplines. The astral disciplines, which is something else that Deanna does. We know Deanna is the expert on dream walking. We know Deanna is the expert when it comes to actually walking into the astral plane, or seeing auras, or interpreting dreams, and all this other stuff. So she is the expert. And she states right here, what is she going to do? She's going to teach him astral sensing and astral reading. Astral sensing is very simple. It's basically you're being able to pick up on the auras of certain things. Pretty much what you'll be able to determine is if someone is an artificial person, an AP, because an AP does not have an aura per se. They have an electrical field around them, but it's not an aura. Humans have an aura, but it's like dull. We know that the auras of witches are rather bright because of all the mystical energy that flows into them. Humans have auras, but they're not that bright. They're kind of like dullish. So astral sensing is you can sense the auras of different things all around you. The other thing that gets into as well, and it hasn't been talked about yet, but will, is you can sense magical items. You would see an aura around the processor of a PAV, because it's absorbing all this mystical energy, both from the pilot and from all around. So it's going to give off a glow. And things that are enchanted actually have a bit of a bit of an aura as well. So it kind of lets you know that there's something there, and you should do something about it. And beware, I'm wiping the screen again. Have spots on my screen. But it lets you know that there's something there. Now, what is astral reading? Well, astral reading is I can look at your aura and tell exactly how you're feeling. And somebody asked me once before, is there anything in my world like you have in the Harry Potter world where you have a potion that you give to a person and they have to tell the truth? You don't have to. There's astral reading. You can read a person's aura, and the aura actually works off of their emotional states as well. So if a person is feeling sad, their aura is going to look a particular way. If a person is feeling happy, it's going to look a certain way. And we know from when Carrie was being interrogated about his girl dreams back in the B-level novel, Deanna actually told Coraline, ask him this question. And she asked him the question and waited for the answer. And Deanna was watching his aura sort of fluctuate back and forth between truth and not truth. I'm telling the truth, I'm not telling the truth. I'm telling the truth, I'm telling the truth. So you don't really need this potion that's going to force a person to tell the truth until you know how to manipulate your own aura. And that's something that you actually learn later on down the line. That's like an E or F level spell. Until you know how to actually manipulate your aura so that you can alter it in order to show that you're not lying, or that maybe you are lying, maybe you are telling, a falsehood, and you want people to think that whatever truth you're telling them is actually false. Or, better yet, you can actually dull your aura down to make it look like you're human. You look like I shouldn't say human, you look like a normal. you look like a regular person. So that's aura manipulation. But none of the students, except maybe a couple of the ones who are like F levels, can actually do stuff like that. So the instructors can. There's the catch-22. Is you could be talking to Matilda and be like, "Are you going to fire me?" No. And you're looking at her aura, going, is she telling the truth or not? Now, not every witch can do this. Of course, that is true. And it's also, you'll learn, it's considered kind of a faux pas to be looking at each other's auras constantly to see if what they're telling you is true or not. You know, you have to learn to take people at their word. And if you're constantly looking at their aura and it's like, "So, did you sleep with my boyfriend?" "No, I didn't sleep." "You lying bitch. I can see it in your aura. You slept with him." You know, it's a catch-22, you know. But you learn in polite society that you shouldn't be doing these things. So that's one of the things those are two of the things that Deanna wants to teach Annie and Carrie. She wants to teach them aura, astral sensing, and astral reading. It actually should be aura sensing and aura reading. I probably screwed something up there, so I'll have to go back and change my spell list. And this is something I've actually been doing as I've went along. Changing my spell list as I do these things, because I've had to actually add things and move things around and stuff like this. I have a pretty extensive spell list, as you know. I've talked about it. But the real kicker here is Deanna, after she tells this to Annie, and Annie is like, "Oh, you know, I've always wanted to know how to do that. This is going to be nice." And Deanna's like, "I'm also planning to teach you more than that." And Annie's like, "Well, like, such as?" The kids are also going to be instructed in astral projection and astral walking. Now, astral projection is an easy one. Astral projection is like you put yourself in a trance and you create like this astral avatar body, which goes floating off into different areas. And it's a way of getting, say, from point A to point B through the astral realm without leaving, say, here. A perfect example of that, this is kind of a bad one, would be like Carrie's in Salem, and he's kind of interested in what his parents are up to. So he puts himself into a trance, and he astrally projects himself across the Atlantic Ocean and spies on his parents, which he can do. Now, you know, without jaunting, he could jaunt and then use farsight, but right now he can't jaunt. But you could get in trouble because we know the kids at school are actually being monitored. They would notice if he jaunted off the school. It would be like, wait a minute, we're missing a student. Someone jaunted out of here. There would be an alarm if that went up. But Carrie could do an astral projection. He could just go in his room and throw himself into a trance and, you know, do an astral projection. And he'd be across the Atlantic Ocean in a matter of like minutes, you know, just his astral avatar would fly across the Atlantic Ocean, and like 2 or 3 minutes later, he's in Cardiff spying on his parents, you know, and then he'll call them up later and it's like, "Hey, Mom, what are you guys up to?" "Oh, we're not doing anything, Carrie." "It's bullshit, Mom. I know you and Dad are going to do this." And she'd be like, "What are you talking about?" Which is another reason why normals should fear witches, and why witches tend to keep their mouth shut about shit they can do, because that's one of those things that they can do, and we don't want that getting out. You know, one of the things witches can do is, "I don't leave my bed here, but I know what you're doing all the way over on the other side of the continent. If I can find you." It's a good way to be able to get in and look at things without leaving home. also, it's also a creepy sort of thing because, now it's like Annie's sitting in her bed, laying in her bed, and she's like, I wonder what Carrie's up to. And she astrally projects herself to Carrie's bedroom, it's like, oh, Carrie. It's like even a weirder Twilight thing. It's like a total skeevy Twilight sort of I'm spying on you shit. Hey, it happens. What are you going to do? And of course, this also brings up other things like, gee, what happens when Emma learns about astral projection? Where did you say you live, Carrie? What's your address again? Oh, look, there's Carrie. That would not be good. Would even be worse if, like, Emma was to astrally project herself into Carrie's bedroom and she's spying on him, and all of a sudden an astral projection of Annie taps her on the back shoulder. It's like, Emma, we need to talk. We need to talk now, bitch. Astral walking. That was actually kind of hinted at in the trailer I portrayed. I put out there, because you saw the scene of Deanna creating like this portal and stepping through it, and there's all these different multicolored lights and stuff going on in the background, and she motions Annie and Carrie to come through, and they step through. That's actually her creating a portal in what they call the curtain, and she's creating an opening between the physical realm and the astral realm. So you actually saw that without even knowing what it is. Here in this scene, you learn what's going on. She's going to teach them how to walk the astral plane, which we've already seen her do. So we know she's the expert there. So all of this stuff that they're learning is going to be D and E level stuff. I mean, astral sense, astral sight, astral reading, that sort of thing. That's all D level stuff. And then some of the other things, astral projection, astral walking. Astral projection, you actually start getting into it near the end of your C levels, more like the beginning of your D levels. And then you learn to better yourself at it. And then there's astral walking. That's almost like that's an E level bit. And with that, of course, goes astral weapons and astral armor, which we've also seen Deanna be able to do, because you have to know how to protect yourself. And that'll be one of the questions that comes up when I do the excerpt tomorrow about, is it safe to go into the astral realm around Salem? Well, yeah, it is, because our protector and benefactor, or our benefactor and protector, makes certain that nothing comes around and screws with the school and that sort of stuff. That doesn't mean that the protector and benefactor of Salem isn't above not screwing with you while you're in the astral realm. And you'll actually hear a little about that later in the novel, where it's possible, the Phoenix will mess with you, because are you going to tell her, no, you can't do this, you're a bad spirit, you're a bad, very powerful spirit, please don't do this? And she's just going to shake her head and laugh at you, assuming, of course, she has a head that she can shake, because we don't really know what she looks like in any sort of, physical form. We know that she can basically take on the form of pretty much anything she wants, so. And there's a scary thought too, that painting on the wall, that could be the Phoenix. That support column in the coven could be the Phoenix. You don't know, you really don't know where her eyes are at, if she's watching everything. It's kind of skeevy when you think about it, that you could have this like completely weird, spooky spirit who's watching you all the time. And you have to kind of assume that she is probably keeping an eye on things. She'll pop in and see how you're doing. It's not all fun and games at Salem. So that's what's happening. That's actually what Deanna's working on. She's going to start teaching these kids stuff. And she'll explain why she's going to teach them stuff, which brings up an interesting point, and I'm sure somebody will ask it. Let's see my ear. I don't know why my wigs part like that, but they do. They all seem to after a while. It doesn't take long. The question is going to come up, and I know somebody will ask it. Is Deanna doing this because she really doesn't want the kids to get bored? Because she knows they might try to do this stuff on their own? Or is she doing it because she's seen something? And this is the great thing with Deanna. Deanna is one of my favorite characters to write. My three favorite characters, I think, of all that I work with are Erwin, Deanna, and Helena, because they actually do have such dynamically great personalities, and they're all off on their own little tangents. Erwin is almost like a mother figure. In reality, she actually is kind of the mother figure. To Carrie especially. She comes across as very matronly. She comes across as very motherly to Carrie. Not so much Annie. She hasn't too much contact with Annie. Helena is like a matron, but she is a very strong mentor, particularly to Annie, who she has the most contact with. And you get to see that Helena really isn't as much of a badass as she is, but at the same time, she knows how to turn it on. You could say, in a sense, she's a good boss. She knows how to push you and make you feel good about what you're doing. She gives you a lot of positive reinforcement, particularly like the scene where she was teaching Annie about shadow ribbons. She did it in such a relaxed way, like, hey, this is what you can do, blah, 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 blah. Instead of turning it into this, really weird ass bust lesson, she did it in a very relaxed way. Like, she was kind of like, well, I'm going to show you, it's really simple. It's not easy to do, but, you can do this. Knowing good and well, Annie was going to take that ball and run. She was giving her something to play with. And she can be a hard ass when she wants to be. We know this. But Deanna approaches everything almost kind of like a friend / confidant. But she is also an instructor. She's one of the youngest instructors. She is the youngest of the coven leaders. And also, she's the seer. She's the school seer. She sees all this stuff. So, did she see something and then she thought, well, they didn't know what they were doing then, so maybe I should teach them. Well, here's the thing with Deanna. And this is something that we'll actually get into a little bit, is that one of the problems you have with visions is that unless you have a context in which to place them, it's difficult to tell if you should do or do not something in order for that vision to either happen or not happen. There's no context there. We've seen context-free visions already. One vision which has no context whatsoever is the shared vision that Annie and Carrie had together when they were flying. The one they had when they went into Memory Zen on their B levels. What is this? I got a stray hair. Get down there. When they were flying, and they were flying into a city. We're assuming they were flying into a city because they were saying, well, haven't got that much further to go. And then they're going into a hotel room. It jumps ahead. So you're assuming they're flying into a city or something. And then they go into this hotel room, and then, Carrie's helping Annie take her top off. But there's no context for that. All they can say is, well, we know what happens when we're older, but you don't know where it's happening. You don't know why it's happening. You don't know exactly even what's happening. Maybe Carrie's just helping Annie get undressed so she can get into her pajamas. It's highly possible. So there's no context there. So there's no real way. There's no real way of being able to say, if you do this, this will happen, or if you don't do this, this will happen. One thing you can do to avoid it is don't put yourself in a position where you could die, because if you die, you know that vision won't happen. Duh. There you go. A vision with context was, of course, Annie and Carrie's wedding night. We know that's going to happen. We know where it's going to happen. We just don't know when. At first it was like, well, it could happen. And they're looking at it from the point of view of, yeah, this could happen. We are going to get married one of these days. And Annie knows exactly where it takes place because she knows. She built the damn lake house as this is where I'm going to lose my virginity. And, think about how weird that is. A 9-year-old girl is like, I need to build a house so I can lose my virginity to my husband. Mom, Dad, I need this house built. Think about that. Think about the vision she had at that point, and she was able to put 2 and 2 together, and it's like, this is where I'm going to have my first intercourse encounter, and I have to build the house. So can we have the house built over there on the lake? That's got to be kind of weird. But the context is there. They know it's going to happen if neither one of them die. And they know it's going to happen sometime in the future. Of course, we don't know how far in the future, but they know it's going to happen in the future. Annie's rune dream of the morning after sort of set up the context of the 3 bindings. When they make the comment about, do you feel different? Did you feel anything? Yeah, I did. I felt something. That in itself right there, that's the 3 bindings. That's more or less them saying, well, we know in this context, we don't have intercourse between our B levels and whenever we get married. Assuming, of course, it's like when they turn 18 years old. So 5 years from now, we have avoided, doing that thing. There's the context there. One dream that didn't have context was Carrie's rune dream. He was actually having this vision where we've learned later, his alternate aura, aka Girl Carrie, was basically trying to tell Carrie about Annie because that aura wasn't quite affected by Carrie's mental block. I mean, if you look at it that way, it's like it kind of resided outside. It wasn't locked into Carrie at that point. So it had picked up some of these images, it had seen these different things. It was almost like it's a completely different entity, like we've pointed out. And it was coming and telling Carrie, you got this girl, you got to pay attention to her. Don't blow her off. But it couldn't come right out and say it because, the rules don't work that way. So there's no context there when it's trying to explain. I can't come out and say, dude, you got a mental block and you're forgetting the fact that you've known this girl all your life. That's the thing. So there's an indication, there's an instance of a vision that has no context and you don't really know what to do to get all these things to happen. The only thing that they were working off of was Deanna basically was saying, don't push this. Don't push this. If you say you knew Carrie through your dreams, if you try to push this, he's liable to get deja vu and his head will explode, which nearly happened a couple of times. He got severe headaches. For all we know, he could have been on the verge of having a stroke or an aneurysm or something like that, because we don't know what sort of trouble, what sort of stuff was going on in his head at this time. Deanna knows that if she has a vision with no context whatsoever, she doesn't really know what steps to take to either make that vision happen or not happen. Let's say she did see something where they needed some astral talents to basically save their lives. Well, wait a minute. Do they get there because she showed them these? Or do they get there because she didn't show them these because something else happens? You don't really know. That's a big problem. One vision that we know that Deanna has had with context that allowed her to make certain that certain things happened was the vision she had of Annie and Carrie on the morning after the Day of the Dead. She saw Annie wake up in bed. She saw Annie sleeping in bed with Carrie, and the headmistress, catches them. And she figures out that this is actually happening because she recognizes that Carrie's been wounded badly. So we don't really know exactly if Deanna said, by the way, Carrie's in there, what are his injuries? Because, I've seen him, all these various things happening. But she saw something well enough to know that what she saw was probably going to happen the next day. She's also kind of indicated that she saw something happening before they woke up. So it's possible she actually saw a situation where maybe Carrie woke up and Annie wasn't there. So he had nobody to tell the story to you. He couldn't relay the fact that he was breaking through this dream, and it would just it would just hold back the fact that they're not getting this breakthrough in his mental barriers, breaking them down. That was really, you could say that was almost the thing that was starting to trigger the little tick, tick, tick of breaking away of his mental barriers, is the fact that he was remembering an incident, a very important incident from their past dreams. And that was helping break away the building blocks that had formed up around his head and around his memories. And he was remembering Annie. So Annie, if Deanna had a vision of them where something happened, and it was all because they couldn't read auras or they couldn't astral walk or something like that, she'd have to ask herself, do I really want to teach them? Because maybe the reason they're in this jam is because I did show them how to astral walk, and they astral walked and they were eaten by monsters or some shit, So maybe I shouldn't teach them. Or is it because they got bored and they taught themselves, let's teach ourselves how to astral walk. And they walked into the astral realm and they were eaten by monsters. We don't know. In this instance, it's sort of like she wouldn't act upon it. She would actually step through things a lot simpler. It's kind of safe to say that the reason she's acting the way she is now is because she is convinced that if I let them sit in Introduction to Divination, they're going to get bored. If I don't give them something to challenge their abilities, they'll get bored. And Intro to Divination can be a boring class. And we've already seen that these two don't have a problem just trying to do shit without any instruction. I mean, that's the reason why they're in advanced spells, is because they got caught doing something they shouldn't have been doing. They were doing spells that were, 2 levels higher than them. In one case, 3 levels higher. Especially with Carrie messing around with time spells. It's all very dangerous, and Deanna, of all people, recognizes how dangerous some of these astral disciplines can be. If you're not really careful, you could kind of mess yourself up. So it's really more like she's taking them under her wing to teach them. She's going to mentor them through there. And she wants to make certain that they're not going to do anything stupid. Yeah. Because they are a driven pair of kids, or a driven pair of witches to be the best, whether they like it or not. And Annie at some point will be like, I want to learn how to read auras. Let's go learn to read auras, Carrie. Let's learn to read auras. Now, one of the things that's pointed out in this excerpt that I'm looking at is that Annie actually has tried to teach herself how to read auras, and so far she's kind of failed miserably at it. And anytime she's asked her mom, well, how do I get better at this? Mom says it takes practice. Of course, Annie's like, gee, yeah, thanks, Mom. What do you think I'm doing? So we know that this is something that Annie is having trouble with. And, it's just going to give her more of an excuse to push and push and push and push. She doesn't want to wait until she's a D level to figure out how to read auras. She will probably start pushing hard in the C levels anyway. And maybe that's what Deanna saw. Maybe Deanna saw, Annie's poring over these books going, I must learn how to read an aura. And decided, I'll show her how to read auras, and I'm going to do all this other stuff too, because that's what Deanna does. Deanna knows how to push. She knows that if you push them, you'll keep them from getting bored. She also knows that if you push them too hard, she may burn them out, and that's another thing that could happen to the kids this year. So they're being quite careful. But like I said, Deanna is a lot of fun to write because everything she does, there's this mystery of what's going on as to, is she saying this because she saw something? Is she saying this because she didn't see something? Is she acting this way because of a vision or not because of a vision? I mean, you think about it, and she's got a pretty strange life to begin with. I mean, she did state after the A-level incident at the Sea Sprite Inn, she tells Erwin, don't worry about the kids, they're still virgins. And Erwin's even like, what the hell did you see? What did you see? It's not easy. It's not easy being a seer. And Deanna has sort of indicated, mental illness does run throughout the seer community. I mean, we had Crazy Wanda, who wasn't really as crazy as people made her out to be, with the pronouncements. She just had a flair for the dramatic, but at the same time, she was kind of what we would call nowadays bipolar, and she suffered from depression, and she eventually committed suicide. And we've learned that several seers at Salem have committed suicide. In Deanna's office in Memory Inn, they've killed themselves because they become depressed. Yeah, I have no control over these visions. I'm tired of seeing my best friends having sex, stuff like that. Or you've seen 2 or 3 or 4 people that die horribly or even murder somebody or something like that. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. So it weighs on your mental faculties after a while. And Deanna's probably done the same thing. I mean, you have to assume that she's walked into a classroom and there's like a half dozen students sitting in a class who she's probably seen shit happen to, and she's just gotta keep her face, kind of neutral, and it's like, oh, so did you read your book, little Jimmy? Knowing that little Jimmy probably is going to slash his throat in a few months. There's a possibility little Jimmy's going to try slashing his throat at some point. You don't know, but she goes kind of against the stereotype of the normal seer, in that most of the time they show seers in fantasy and fiction as being either completely a bubble off, they're completely nuts to begin with, they're sociopathic or even psychopathic, or they're quote eccentric. Miss Trelawney, whatever her name is from Harry Potter, is the perfect example of someone who is completely eccentric, and you think of her as a fraud. And then when she does her prophecies, they're shrouded in riddle. Whereas the fantasies and the visions in my story, what you see is what you get. It's just a matter of knowing the context around that vision to know whether or not it's actually true. Or how should you progress from that point to handle it, It's a completely different thing. Deanna's rather level-headed for now. Who knows? Maybe Deanna goes insane. You never know. It could happen. They all could go insane. I mean, we've already seen that. I mean, these guys are under a tremendous amount of pressure all the time. And Salem is like the top of the top of the top. So all the instructors there are like the best in the world at what they do, which means they were driven hard to get to that point. And then they're turning around and teaching other kids how to be, the best they are at what they do, and they drive them hard. It's like a PTSD factory in a way of just, instructors who were under a tremendous amount of pressure and fortunately, or maybe fortunately, snapped. And now they're doing the same thing to students. And one of the things that I've talked about in the Sea Level novel is how Annie and Carrie deal with pressure. Sea Level is going to be tremendous amount of pressure. It's probably going to be the most pressure-filled year they're going to have. How are they going to handle it? Are they going to snap? Are they going to kill people? Are they? We have already seen one scene where Annie confronts Emma and says, "Let's talk." And the doors slam behind her, so watch out, Emma. That could be bad. So, how will they handle pressure? Well, there's also a scene we saw in the trailer where people with rifles were coming after the two of them, so that's never a good scene. A couple of, young kids, and they were getting ready to fight these dudes. So, yeah. Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know, but we'll find out. Might take another year, but you'll find out. So that's what's going to happen to them. And I've rambled on a lot more. I was like going to make this a 20-minute video, and already I'm edging up towards 50 minutes. So you've got a lot to listen to. Isn't this going to be fun? Just fast forward through a bunch of shit. So I'm going to let you go. I have to go down and check my packages again and see if my packages are here again. And hope they are, but I hope they're not. If they've come while I've been on this video, I'm going to be in trouble. So I'm going to let you go. Take care. This is Cassidy, and see you around the homestead. See you at the school. Bye-bye.